Anti-cop protesters have been popping up all across the country after select incidents with law enforcement. And one activist has also protested before, get this, in Ferguson, and Baltimore is now in McKinney, Texas. Now, since yesterday, he has tweeted, quote, "I've seen so many people here in McKinney who I've seen march in Ferguson and Baltimore and Milwaukee and D.C. Another tweet reads, well, we'll make we the protesters into a 501c3 one day soon, hopefully, in order to sustain this work. And no, I won't be getting rich." And finally, another reads, "Shut down McKinney." Now, based on those posts, is it fair to say that there may be professional protesters at all of these incidents? Joining me now is the author of those tweets, activist DeRay McKesson is with us, and also from the Black Sphere, Kevin Jackson. All right, DeRay, you say that. Were you at all three incidents?
I've been to many cities where the police have been violent towards people of color, and there have been many people who've traveled around the country in solidarity to stand with people to make sure these stories don't go unnoticed.
I asked you if you've traveled, and you've been in Ferguson. You've been in Ferguson, right?
Correct.
And you've been in Baltimore?
Correct.
And you've been in McKinney?
I've been in many places where the police have either killed people or have continued to be violent towards people of color.
So you're a professional. Is this what you do for a living? You want to set up a 501c3 tax-exempt organization? Is this your profession now?
You know, I'm somebody who's focused on justice. Is this a question that you're asking me because I'm a person of color? Would you ask white people this too?
It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with, is this your profession? I ask you, you know, you're tweeting out that you're a professional protester. Is that what you do? You want money.
Well, no,
you're
that's
soliciting
not what I said.
money.
If you've actually looked at my tweets, you've heard me say that I'm actually unemployed. You want this to be that narrative?
Well, how do you support yourself then? How do you support yourself, sir? I would encourage
you to look at the rest of my tweets because I've answered this question many times.
How do you support yourself if you're unemployed?
Look at tweets. You're here.
To you.
How do you get the money to travel to all these places?
So, Sean, will you keep yelling or will you let me answer?
I didn't yell once yet, but I'll be glad to. If you want to hear me yell, it's pretty loud.
Yep. So, Sean, behave. So, here's the thing: is that, like I said, I've been using my savings and contributions from my friends to do this work so far, and that has worked. Again, when I go to different places, and when many people go to different places, this is about making sure that these stories are heard and that we're standing in solidarity with people who the police have harmed or killed.
All right, I got your point. Now I want to ask you this. Have you been a part of any of the rioting? Have you been a part of any of the looting, sir?
That's a good question. So I've actually not seen any rioting at all. So
you haven't seen it? I've got the video. If you'd like to look in your monitor, I can show it to you, sir.
A lot
of minority store owners lost their entire life possessions in these riots.
So, Sean, I'd encourage you to let me answer the question. So, again, I've not been a part of any rioting. There has been property damage in some cities, and again, I've not participated in that. And like I've said before, is that I don't have to condone it to understand it.
Who robbed a store and assaulted a clerk and according to the eyewitnesses, fought a cop for his gun and charged it a cop? Do you still believe that false and proven false narrative of hands up, don't shoot? Do you believe that?
I think that Michael Brown should be alive today, and I think that he was murdered by a cop who used his power because he knew that power would be protected.
Kevin, I guess we have professional protesters. I mean, nice way to make a living, I guess.
Well, the first thing I'd say is that
don't lie.
The first thing I'd say to DeRay is he had tweets out that talked about he hadn't been paid yet and he was waiting to be paid. But if he denies that he hasn't been paid, fine. But here's what I will tell you about DeRay.
Kevin, again, that's not true.
Hey, let me finish. You haven't been to the funeral of any cop that was killed in the line of duty. I bet you that. I bet you haven't saved up for that. I bet you haven't been to the celebration ceremony of cops who've protected many black people for decades. I bet you've never been to one of those celebrations. I bet you haven't been to the funeral of any of the kids that are killed that aren't in these types of scenarios where race baiters and race pimps like you appear. Those are the things that you should be caring about. I bet you don't care about these neighborhoods once you leave, when you start problems, or the money that has to be paid to restore them when people like you leave. You're just you're a sucker that's going around this country starting problems, not caring about what happens after the fact because it's giving you a bit of notoriety. You should just admit that. You're a race pimp.
So, Kevin, have you been to the funerals of all the victims of Sandy Hook? Or all the victims of Katrina?
I wouldn't have to go to any. I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional running around the country earning money to get this nonsense. To do this nonsense. I'm not running around the country doing this.
Kevin, you should stop yelling.
I want you to answer the question.
You want me to fit into this narrative. No, I've answered the question many times, and I'll say it again to you, is that I'm going to places
You're
like
getting
many other
paid,
people
DeRay.
where the police have killed people, where the
No,
police
you're
have
not. You're
killed
getting
people.
paid.
Do you believe a person is innocent
what
until
you-
proven guilty?
Do you go where people
DeRay?
protect? Do you go where the police protect
What I
Do you
people?
believe cops
Sean,
are
so,
innocent
again, both
until
of you are
proven
yelling.
guilty?